Hello guys, welcome back to Writer's Tales. Last Adventurers, this is the story number 3, this is Revolt in 1857. So, we've gone back in time, we have. This is set in Delhi in 1857 during the, what's it called, the Indian mutiny, of course. In the Red Fort, of course. It's a pseudo-historical, this is, not pure historical. Originally, it was a pure historical, but let's go through the synopsis, of course, so I'll explain why. So, the protagonists land in Delhi in 1857. When I say 15, no, it's 1857, excuse me. Pardon me. So they end up on the outside where the Red Fort is, actually. So on the outskirts. But rather than go there, and it's sort of doing the whole thing, of course, people battle, of course, they sort of sneak away, they do, to the opposite end, really, just to appreciate what is to offer in Delhi, of course. While doing that, they go on exploring, but also they've noticed that villagers are crying in fear because someone's daughter, wife, and also a few other people have been gone, actually, and they're living in fear because they think, the protagonists are like, one of them, really, or like just like him or something. And I don't know who this person is, but they sort of found out maybe, as they dig deeper, that it's a British fella who is stealing women and used them to selling them off. But the twist is the fella is from the future, from the very far future. He's called Blue. He's a criminal. He was arrested for human trafficking many times, and somehow he has come back in time to Delhi and steal all the female villagers of this local village, of course, during which Muslim men are fighting, of course, against the Red Fort. So it's Lady's opportunity to smuggle the women away out of their homeland and dump them in the far future to be sold. So yeah, it's one of them type of stories, really. The character Blue, he's more like a greaser type thing. I mean, similar to what I'm going to explain now. So, this was originally planned. It actually comes from an unproduced Doctor Who story called The Red Fort, which was written by Terry Nation. It was meant to come after Planet of Giants, but it was replaced with The Dark Invasion of Earth because of the popularity of the Daleks, which he written the previous season beforehand. So that was scrapped entirely. It's never been adapted or anything. I don't know if Nation might run a few scripts, of course, maybe. I just maybe be unproduced, who knows. But I thought it'd be interesting to cover this because it's like, I don't think no one's really, well, I think up until recently with Demons of the Punjab, it's, the focus on India in history, really, to be honest. But I thought it'd be an interesting idea to do something like this, really, because it was suggested, of course, but I think, it might have been an interesting idea to go back into its time, really, during Hartnell's era, really, They could just work on a novelisation or something, I don't know. But, so I picked this up, I did, and originally it was called the Indian Insurrection, this was. I mean, it was called the Red Fort first, because I just stuck with the name. Then I chose Indian Insurrection, which was another thing, there's another title for that. And then I chose Revolt of 1857, which became the sort of current title. I think they were both names of course, for the mutiny, of course, really. And that was really about it until I saw Rosa, the series 11 episode of Doctor Who, to Rosa Parks. And that featured a very similar character, of course, with the character of Krasko, American greaser who is trying to prevent Rosa Parks from getting on the bus, really. Tampering with time, a bit of a time person he is. Comes from Stormcage, and you can tell the influences from there, really, But I made this more darker, of course, because the idea of slavery and human trafficking and stuff like that, that's sort of a thing, really, especially, in terms of country, in Caribbean countries, Asian countries, that sort of thing, especially around this time, really. So it seems to be suited. And the idea of him just taking people, female villagers to the far future and be sold, used for all sorts, really, as for like forced wives, you know, playthings, of course, that sort of thing. It's quite sinister, really, when you look at it. Like, this man probably would have done this, pinch many women from different time places, because he has a vortex manipulator, he does. So that's one reference, of course. So he's been travelling around collecting stuff, he has, and he's more, I'm trying to think, again, similar to Cresco, really, like the actor who plays him. He's sort of something like a tough leather jacket handsome fella who just basically goes around and just, pinches women, really. That sort of thing. Causes chaos, kills quite a few people. It's not like in Rosa, when he's prevented because he has a chip or something in his head, really, like he's prevented from strangling the doctor or tempted to shoot them or something, that, that sort of thing. But here, full-blown murderer, tends to go, maybe kills families and stuff, of course. Only one because they wants to mother the wife, that sort of thing. His possession, really. It's pretty dark stuff, including, with the themes of that sort of stuff. It seems very relevant, especially when, that could have my worked as a story, really. I mean, there was a similar thing, of course, with Ian and Barbara become slaves in the Romans, of course, back in Arnold's tenure. But you don't see that much anymore, like being kidnapped or being sold off to it anywhere. I mean, you see it maybe in audios, maybe in books, but on television, like in the modern series, very much. I don't think that's ever really happened, really. I mean, kidnapping, yes, but sold off, auctioned off, or anything like that. And you land at different times. That's never really happened before. So here we go. Yeah. So that's it, really, with the Revolt of 1857. Pretty good idea. A different spin on. It's a spin on Rosa in a way, but more dark and a bit more, in line with what my stories are, really. Very much of the VNAs, the New Adventures type style. This is all like the New Adventures equivalent to Rosa. Very much that type of thing. But again, pretty good stuff. Some people probably think, maybe Indian insurrection might be a good idea, really. But I think with Revolt in 1857, it's like, what is the revolt? It could be something else entirely, Play with the titles, the Red Fort, Indian insurrection, that leads to that historical event it does, with the mutiny and everything else. But that's just, in the story, it's just a background thing, You sort of see glimpses of it, but mainly it's to do with villagers just being hunted by one man who's after women, sort of thing. So yeah, nothing else to say. So Revolt of 1857 is the third story of the Last Adventurers, Far Rise Tales as well, which will be interesting. There's one that I wrote quite a few years ago, really, as an intended fan story as well. It came from a fan series along with Blacklight as well, so it's in that same vein, of course. I think it came after a Blacklight in the original version of it. It came after Blacklight, so it's continuing there. So guys, thank you for watching. As always, see you for the next video. See ya.